A fresh war of words with Turkey as Ankara champions the Palestinian cause. Turkey hitting out at Israel's, quote, lawless occupation of Palestinian territory after the Israeli Prime Minister accused Turkey of massacres against the Kurds.
Netanyahu, you have knocked on the wrong door. Erdogan is the voice of the oppressed. You, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, are the voice of the oppressor. You commit state terror. You kick women, children, you kick babies and drag them away with your soldiers and your police. Netanyahu, you're an oppressor, a tyrant.
I was just exposed to the daily trolling of the anti-Semitic dictator Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He has an obsession with Israel. He knows what a moral army is, and he knows what true democracy is, as opposed to an army that slaughters women and children in Kurdish villages. The state is unfortunately turning into a dictatorship from day to day.
Now, this feud comes as the United States clears the way for Turkey to launch an attack on its allies in Syria, those Kurdish fighters who've been battling to defeat ISIS with the support of America and its troops. The US president's snap decision also leaving Israel exposed in Syria for Iran to continue its efforts to increase influence in the Middle East and further strengthen Hezbollah. Trump stunned his allies and the US establishment when he ordered the withdrawal of some 2,000 American ground forces in Syria on Wednesday, saying that ISIS had been defeated. The shock move leading to the resignations of US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and Brett McGurk, the special envoy to the anti-IS coalition. Trump's decision coming off the back of a phone conversation with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan. Now, to remind you, Ankara views the Kurdish militia fighting against the Islamic State group in Syria as a terrorist offshoot group looking to wage an insurgency inside of Turkey. Now, to discuss this further, let's bring in I24 News senior Washington DC correspondent Dan Raviv, and with me in studio, senior research fellow at the Institute for National Security Studies, Dr. Gallia Lindenstrauss. Gallia, Dan, great to have you with us. We'll start with you, Dan, in Washington DC. We know that Trump might believe Erdogan is the man to lead the fight against ISIS now, but is also getting out of the way to allow for the slaughter, if you will, of the fighters that the US has been fighting alongside against IS until now, the Kurds. Where is the justification for this?
Since last Wednesday, U.S. officials have not mentioned the Kurds. At various times in recent months, President Trump has praised Kurdish fighters for being courageous in the battle against ISIS in both Iraq and Syria. So President Trump was aware of the Kurds, but lately he's been speaking with the president of Turkey. And here's a tweet today from President Trump in the White House. It says, President Erdogan of Turkey has very strongly informed me that he will eradicate whatever is left of ISIS in Syria, and he is a man who can do it. Plus, Turkey is right next door. Our troops are coming home. So President Trump, think about that last line there. He's mainly speaking to American people, to Trump voters. He had promised them that he would never get the U.S. involved in an endless war like Afghanistan and Iraq. So Trump is still proud that he's ordering the 2,000 U.S. troops to get out of Syria, and he is now claiming publicly that Turkey will take care of America's interests. Tracy.
All right, and Gallia, of course, it seems that Turkey is looking to take care of more than just ISIS, although when we're talking about the collaboration here between the United States and Turkey, we're hearing that these two governments are going to look to prevent a power vacuum from emerging in Syria in the wake of ISIS or any such battle between Turkey and the Kurds. How can the two of these countries do that?
I think basically the U.S. is now transferring its power stations to Turkey. Basically, the idea is that instead of the U.S. soldiers, now the Turkish soldiers are going to come in. Basically, we're in the approaching the end of the civil war in Syria, and now the areas that the government needs to regain control, or either the government or Turkey, is East Syria and Idlib. Now, in East Syria, the Turks have a very vested security interest in the sense that the Kurds are there, and they see this also as a threat inside Turkey. So I think what we're going to see on ground is either the Turks are going to come in, or the regime is going to come in, or it's going to be sort of a hybrid situation. The Turks are going to be in the north, and the regime is going to come from the south towards this area.
Now, Dan, back to you. There have, of course, been warnings from Israel and others that Iran is seeking to form a land bridge across to the Mediterranean. Some analysts have said that the US withdrawal will, in fact, help that effort. Why does the United States' approach to curbing Iran's influence not seem to concern Trump here?
Well, usually Trump is very concerned about Iran, and his national security advisor, John Bolton, is famous for having warned for years that Iran is the major power in the Middle East that everyone should worry about, and Bolton wants the U.S. and Israel to stand together. This is such a, well, personal and individual decision by President Trump. We have not heard senior officials in the Trump White House defending the decision. It's all up to Trump. He spoke with the Turkish president. Trump made up his own mind. Trump got busy with the government shutdown here in the United States, and Saturday morning, many government agencies have been closed. Trump canceled his vacation trip to Florida, so he's hunkered down in the White House, sending out his opinions on Twitter. But we don't have any briefings from officials. No one is defending what may look like it's a surrender to Russian and Iranian interests in Syria. No one here is defending that, Tracy.
All right, so then, Gallia, to you, how concerned should Israel be? Of course, it's trying to ease those concerns among Israelis with the fear that perhaps Iran would be able to extend its influence into Syria. We've already seen these Hezbollah tunnels coming from Lebanon. How concerned should Israel be?
Basically, Israel is more interested in what's happening in southern Syria than what is happening in northern Syria. And if we look at only the U.S. president, it was 2,000 soldiers. Of course, there was also Air Force operating there. The question is whether this means something bigger, whether it means U.S. withdrawal from all the Middle East, U.S. withdrawal from the base in Qatar, the U.S. withdrawal from the Incirlik base. That would be a bigger concern from Israel. Yes, it is a win for Iran, but basically Israel's main interests are still south of Syria. So in this respect, the security establishment is not that worried.
All right, Dan, just to finish us off, what does the US stand to gain by allowing Turkey to have its way?
Well, there is the possibility that President Trump is giving Erdogan another chance. At the beginning of the Trump administration early in 2017, Trump tried to be friendly with Erdogan, thinking that Turkey could be useful to American interests without having many U.S. troops in that region. After that, Erdogan seemed like he was very Islamic, as some Trump administration officials have put it privately. And so, really, the U.S. took a turn against Erdogan. It's like Trump is considering working with him again. And if that works for Trump, he'll be pleased. He certainly will spin it as a victory for him, even as Trump is also proud of getting along with Putin of Russia. What will that mean for the Kurds and for Israel? We'll have to see, but we do notice that Israel is not protesting, Tracy.
All right, Dan, thank you for that in Washington, D.C. We'll move back into studio with you, Gallia. Of course, we're hearing from Dan mentioning Russia and Trump's relationship with Putin. And, of course, we saw Washington's foreign policy in this instance creating closer relationships between Iran, Turkey and Russia. Do you believe that this could see Turkey moving back closer into the direction of the United States as Trump would hope?
I think there is a bigger grand deal than just the issue of the U.S. forces in Syria. I think there is also the issue of the S-400, that the U.S. wants that Turkey will buy Patriots instead of the S-400. It also relates to the F-35 deal, in which Turkey has invested a lot of money. And if Turkey gets out of this F-35, it means also the project in general will be delayed, because Turkey is also one of the countries that is making some of the F-35's inner components. So there's a bigger deal there. In general, if Turkey moves now east of the Euphrates and it does a big military operation, which we think is what is going to happen, this will actually cause also a problem with Iran and Russia that don't want to see Turkey in the long run in Syria. Right. So I think in this respect, the Trump's bet is not completely out of the with no reason. The way it has been handled, and the way, of course, the resignation of Mattis that's the bigger issue, I think.
Well, the moving pieces are far from over.